Good morning, beautiful young people. It has got to be against all common sense and etiquette to talk about death at a festive occasion like a graduation, but I can't help myself. When my dad passed away on January 30th of this year, I was in fifth period. I knew that it was coming. He'd suffered from cancer for many years, and they told me that it would be any day. I got a text from my cousin that said simply, "I'm sorry, cuz, he's passed." I burst into tears. My students were awesome. Yamilet and Julio and Omar and a bunch of others held me as I cried on their shoulders. My dad was larger than life. He had a mile-wide smile and a laugh like thunder. He was all swagger and tattoos. He went to punk rock concerts and rode dirt bikes. He was my hero. But everything that he accomplished in his 56-year life was, in the end, boiled down to 313 words. The 313 words of his obituary, which fit on this 3-inch by 9-inch bookmark that I hold in my hand. A whole life on 3 inches by 9 inches, laminated and made into a bookmark. My dad's life has caused me to think about life and what meaning I would like my life to have, and how, when my life ends, I'd like to be remembered. In Mark Twain's comic novel, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, Tom fakes his own death and attends his own funeral. And he watches from the rafters of the church as people pay their respects to him. Isn't that an attractive fantasy? Wouldn't it be sort of fun to attend your own funeral? To watch people get weepy for you, to say nice things, to feel terrible or guilty for being rotten to you? This is a celebratory, festive occasion, so I don't want to get too morbid, but I do think it's useful from time to time to think about one's own funeral as a thought experiment and as a criterion by which to measure the success of our lives. What do you want people to say about you? How do you want to be remembered? What kinds of stories do you want people to tell there? And at each step in your life, you can ask, am I living in such a way as to make a damn good obituary? In my opinion, it would be a really enlightening exercise for you to go home and to write your obituary now, to sketch out the kind of person you'd like to become by the end of your life, and then start today to become that person. I guess what I'm really trying to say is, all of you punks better come to my funeral. And you better cry a lot. At this point, you're thinking, this has to be one of the worst, most depressing graduation speeches I've ever heard in my life. It's like, dude, read the room. It's 5 a.m. and people are holding balloons for crying out loud. Chill. But I'm an English teacher, and I force kids to read Macbeth and the book of Job and stuff like that. I have no chill. So, at the end of your life, who do you want to have become? Many people today talk about discovering yourself, as if the self were some ready-made, pre-packaged thing that arrives out of the box at birth. In this view, the purpose of life is to find yourself or be true to yourself. But according to the philosopher Soren Kierkegaard, there is no already existing self to be found. The self must be deliberately created. The purpose of life is not to find yourself, but to become yourself. We are both the sculptor and the sculpture, both the lump of clay and the artist that brings that raw material into its final form. And every choice that we make beautifies or disfigures the self in progress. The work of becoming a self is difficult and fraught with peril. It requires you to look in the mirror and ask hard questions. Who am I supposed to become? How do I fulfill my potential? What is my vocation, my calling, my purpose? What does God want from me? To become a self, we must answer the poet's question. What is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? It's much safer and much less scary to accept the roles that are thrust upon you. It's safer and less risky to conform to the crowd. Nowadays, it's exceedingly easy to stupefy yourself, to let yourself be swallowed up by the algorithm, to scroll and swipe rather than live and choose. It's exceedingly easy to fritter your life away on silly amusements, squandering your talents doing something unworthy of who you might become. There are so many glittering distractions, so many cowardly ways to outsource the risk and adventure of your life to other people, to algorithms, to live vicariously through other people, to consume other people's Instagram adventures instead of making your own, etc. If there is some kind of judgment in the hereafter, I imagine it's something like this. You're shown a vision of who you were supposed to be, a portrait of your full potential, who you might have been had you taken seriously the project of becoming your best self. And then side by side, you're shown your reflection, who you turned out to be in actuality. Hopefully the latter isn't a pale, flat, and disappointing parody of the former. Hopefully, by God's grace, we can become all who we were meant to be. Kierkegaard said, "Now, with God's help, I shall become myself." So I invite you, with God's help, go become yourself. Congratulations, class of 2025.